Integrity is a big one. Quality is a big one. But second, everybody needs training. Everybody needs maintenance. Everybody needs accountability when it comes to operating a business. So just because you hired somebody like you, similar to your core values, and you put them out in the field, if you just turn a blind eye to that, you can't expect that they're always going to be working to your standards. There needs to be a trust and verify to that.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues, the podcast where we interview business owners on how they built their businesses and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is David Wynn, and I'm a business coach and the founder of Purple Circle, where we help business owners achieve their first 6-figure, 7-figure, and 8-figure year, all without sacrificing their quality of life. Before becoming a business coach and before founding Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses and have been a consultant at several businesses doing over $100 million each, including some that are publicly listed and doing over $1 billion each. In every episode of the podcast, you're going to learn lessons that took our guests years to learn, and you'll be able to learn that in minutes. No matter if you're a new business owner or an established business owner, every episode is going to give you the clues in order to elevate your business.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Dan Dowdy, a second-generation master plumber and certified John Maxwell coach, trainer, and speaker whose 20-plus years in the home service industry have shaped a mission to give back to the trades and empower individuals and businesses to achieve their full potential. Dan brings a rare combination of hands-on trades expertise and world-class leadership development to an industry that desperately needs both. His coaching approach is rooted in the belief that true success begins within, focusing on personal growth, leadership development, and building a lasting legacy that goes far beyond revenue and business metrics. Dan helps tradespeople and entrepreneurs lead with purpose and grow from the inside out, proving that the same grit and craftsmanship that builds great plumbing systems can build extraordinary lives and businesses. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Well, thank you for having me, Pedro. I appreciate this time. And that introduction kind of puts a little pressure on me. That was a great introduction.
Dude, I was in Brazil just chilling, and you were doing everything. I mean, it's on you. You're the one to blame, right? You built that your own. Now, moving forward, okay, great to have you, man. Excited to record an episode with you. And you know what? I'd love for us to rewind a bit because you could be doing so many things, right? And sometimes I joke about this on the episode, like you could be a plumber. Well, you are literally a plumber, right? Yeah. But you could do other different things with your life. You could be a chef. You could be a dentist. Well, you chose coaching right now, right?
Yeah.
So can you walk us through why coaching and a little bit on the origin story, how that came to fruition?
That's a long story. You sure you want to?
You can give us a quick briefing about that.
Highlight it. I'll hit the highlights. So, I'm second generation in the trades, born and raised. The time I could work, I was doing plumbing. Joined the family business as a young adult. About 10 years in, was put into a leadership role in the business, and at that point realized there had to be a better way. It wasn't that we weren't successful. It was just that we were like most family businesses where the owners were doing most everything in the business, and we were definitely limiting the growth of the business. That's when I hired my first business coach. That was around 2010. And the rest is history. At that point, I not only learned about processes and systems, learned about leadership and management, but I was always a student of business and leadership. So I was always reading books, listening to podcasts, going to conferences, and really just applying what I was learning. That 10 years of coaching in my plumbing business went from it being dependent on the owners to being fully independent of the owners. And that's really around a combination of leadership and communication and how we manage people, but also consistent systems and processes. And really developing the people around us, developing them into leaders who can make decisions, own decisions, and really have the right knowledge to be able to make the right decision in what they're doing. Around 2018 is when like a faith is a big part of my journey. I found my walk with God, and He really started to put new dreams on my heart of what would be beyond the plumbing, which I never thought there would be anything beyond the plumbing. Was running a very successful multi-location business in Texas, and ended up realizing that there's a great need both for leadership coaching and for business coaching in the trades. And there's not a whole lot of people that come at it from being a tradesman, actually doing and applying what they learned in the field and coming to it from that angle, which I think is a very relatable story for a lot of tradespeople out there who may be listening. And so around 2019, sold my share of that business, stepped into coaching full time, started a company called Built for the Trades. And really what it stands for is, that you're a good person. You run your business with integrity, and that you're passionate and you love the trades, whatever trade it is. And, that's really the prerequisite of who we like to work with. From that point, all we need is somebody who's willing to be coached and grow. If we can meet that, we can grow our community and grow businesses all over the nation. And the rest is history, man. About 6 years doing this. Family life, been married 22 years, have 4 children. And if I'm not coaching, nowadays I enjoy, we were talking about watching the World Cup. I love playing sports. I love golf. I love coaching my son's baseball team. I love working out and just taking care of myself. So that's a highlight of how I made it to your podcast.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love the fact that you saw the family business and you're like, okay, maybe there's a better way of doing things, right? So I like that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just how can we improve it, right? There's that. Now, I'm curious about one thing, because you started like 6 years ago, Built for the Trades, right? Yeah. And at the start in the coaching journey, and I'm not sure how your went, but sometimes, and I'm a coach too, we're like, I'm helping people, I'm giving some tips here, I'm guiding people in the early days, right? And then we realize, okay, this is a real thing. I'm building a real business around this. So when that happened for you, that you realize, okay, this is not just advice giving. I'm not just hopping on phone calls with buddies and helping them with business. It's more about, I can actually charge people for this. I can launch an LLC or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, for me, I may be a little bit different, but I saw it as a business from day one. And so I was giving advice to other plumbing business owners all across the nation that I had relationships with for free before I ever started coaching. And then when I knew I wanted to go into coaching, I already had one engaged client before I ever started the business. And the best advice I ever got was, hey, pick a price and just go to market as a coach and just offer coaching at whatever cadence you want to offer coaching at the price that you want to offer it. It just really simplified it in my head. I wasn't trying to offer all these different services at first. And I just wanted to start from scratch and build the business. One client quickly turned into 3 clients. And, but it hasn't always been just clients coming in left and right. That's just really how I started my business, Pedro. But the funny thing is owning a plumbing business and owning a coaching business is so different. There's still businesses, but there's just so many different ways of marketing the business, I guess is where it's so different. Marketing the business, it's been a learning curve for me over the last 6 years.
Okay, interesting. And it sounds like from the get-go, you already have a clear idea on who you're going to serve, and you kind of told me that. But eventually, there's a certain type of evolution that happens within, and I'm sure if that happened to you, that we keep trying. We keep attracting the same type of people, right? In the early days, there's a little bit testing the water, so I can help anyone, or maybe I'll niche down or not. So can you walk us through the evolution of that, like your ICP, your ideal client profile, and who do you serve now?
Yeah. We are built for the trades, so we offer services to all different types of trades. Mainly, if you think blue collar or construction type trades, home services, that's our main focus in the trades that we serve. From day one, I was looking for clients that were doing like $1 million to $1.5 million in annual revenue, up to about $10 million. And really, that was my experience in growing the family business. So first, it made me feel comfortable in coaching that. Second, anybody doing less than $1 million per year is a very hard client to coach because they're usually out in the field turning the wrench and doing the different things. And then the ones that are over 10 million are usually selling to private equity. They're not family owned anymore, and we don't really step into that space. So that became my avatar: family businesses in the U.S. that were doing between 1 and 10 million in annual revenue. And as that evolved, what I realized was there was really an underserved community of trades owners that were doing 0 to 1 million. And I wanted to be the coach for the underdogs. It felt like every podcast you heard was people doing 10, 20, 30, 40, $100 million per year. Nobody was talking directly to the guy out there, or the gal out there turning a wrench, doing, $20,000 a month in their business, just trying to make a living. And as we evolved, we started to evolve different services into our coaching. One-to-one coaching services for us is an owner out of a truck, fully has a team that's operating for them, and they're ready to grow their business. But our group coaching programs were designed specifically for that startup to 1 million in annual revenue. So typically 1 to 5 employees in a business. And that's really taken off for us too.
Okay. And when you say trades, I'm picturing it's not just plumbing, right? Would you give me a rundown on 5 top trades you work with?
Yeah. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical, roofing, flooring, remodeling. We've done anything from underground utility work, a lot of different things. And you're right. When you said earlier you attract who you are, I would say about 60 to 70% of our business is plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
But we even have a company that does countertop refinishing, and so there's all kinds of different clients. We have automotive as well. I can't believe we have some great automotive clients. So that's probably our top right now of who we're serving. We've even gone a little bit outside of construction trades and worked with some print shops and things like that. But what we're looking for, when you think about our avatar, I mean, at first it's just a good integrity-based owner, has a good reputation, and they're coachable. They've reached a point in their business where they can't figure out how to go beyond that, and they're finally ready to be coached. That's somebody that we're always going to talk to.
Okay. Now let's do a quick game of pretend, right?
Okay.
If you allowed me, I would love to pretend I'm your avatar. Okay.
Yeah.
Your ideal client profile. Let's say I'm a business owner between 1 and 10 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Family business, plumbing. Yeah. We could go with the bread and butter. Now, how would I be able to find you in the first place, right? Marketing wise.
Okay. Yeah. So the easiest way to find us would be on any of the social platforms under Built for the Trades. We're on all of them. We have a little YouTube channel as well. We have a podcast as well. So as far as people that aren't in my networking sphere, so to say, that's probably the easiest way to find us. Podcasts like this are great ways to expand the audience. But I would say our top two referral areas is going to be in networking and also current existing client referrals is how we consistently grow our business.
Okay. So still in the game of pretend, I'm still your avatar. I'm looking at your YouTube channel. I'm listening to one of your podcasts, even as a host or a guest. And I'm like, okay. Or even I was referred to work with you, right? And I'm like, they seem cool, right? I reach out and I go through the sales process. We can speed up that a little, up to you. I can simply put, there's alignment. Okay. You guys see that you can help me. I'm coachable. I see that you guys can help me. So can you walk me through and give us a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of how does it look like to work with Built for the Trades, right? And the outcomes I can expect.
Yeah. You want to hear more about the sales process and then what it looks like, or just
more? I think more about I think one thing, and On a side note, I was a high ticket sales closer for a landscape business coach for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes, man, I was in calls and they had a hard time grasping what coaching meant.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
I think about a little peek behind the curtain of what are we actually going to do, right? More about the structure. Are we talking about one-on-ones? Is there a framework? What exactly happens on day one, And a little bit of this is what it will look like if you follow the steps, and this is the outcome we're talking about. You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah. What is coaching? That was a big part of my story when I left the plumbing trade and going to coaching. All my friends are like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what does the coach even do? I'm
Right?
like, yeah, that's going to be fun to sell. So the first thing I realized is this: the faster the client jumps in, the faster they jump out. I've learned through coaching that closing on the first call is never the way to go. We have a 3-step process, and the 3-step process is simply relationship building at first. If they want to go to the next call, we always work to book the next call. We're going to qualify, make sure we have the right people on the second call, and then at that point, we go through our business freedom roadmap. It's actually been one of the best selling tools by accident that I ever built, and it's just a 10-step framework. And it asks 10 different questions, and the client can score themselves from 1 to 10, 10 being the best. The total score is 100. And what I tell every potential client that comes in is, if you have never been coached, typically you score between a 10 and a 30 out of 100. If you've been coached, you may score somewhere around 50 or 60. And then I just take them through each area. So the first thing we ask is like your vision for your business. Do you have your vision, your mission, your core values established, similar to what you see behind me on the screen? Is that established? Is it on the wall? Do you talk about it often? And then we jump into financials. Like, do you have a P&L and balance sheet? Are you reviewing that monthly? Do you have a budget established? And then we jump into KPIs, and then we jump into, recruiting for the business. We jump into how often are you training your team? We jump into leadership meetings and the structure of your leadership meetings. We jump into 10 different areas of the business, which is really more systems and processes in the business, but it at least gives them a direct reflection of how they're operating. And that's usually that point where that light bulb goes off. They're like, okay, like I need built for the trades. Now, the outcome that we give, that the whole goal of working with our clients is not just they grow in their revenue and they grow in their profitability. We want to see their business grow and have some independence separate than the owner, to where they can actually enjoy their family. They can go on vacation. They have the right people in place to be able to operate it for them. And, for different industries, it's different, Pedro, because I think the more college educated industries, running a business is probably something that's taught more to them. But for the blue collar trades industry, you got to remember my audience, they graduated high school and they worked for somebody else, and they finally got tired of being told what to do. So they're like, screw you, I'm going to go start my own business.
Right.
And then they go out there and they're just turning a wrench, and that's all they know. And they grow their business through hard work. And one day they wake up and they're like, wow, this is a real business. Like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing beyond,
Right.
beyond working in a truck. And so our avatar is just that simple. So whenever we come in and we show them the framework, it sells itself. But beyond that, the leadership and the mindset and how you communicate with your people is really powerful. But it's kind of hard to score that, in a initial assessment. But for everybody listening out there, it's just a 1-page document that sells majority of the work that we do.
Interesting. Appreciate you sharing that. Now, I'm curious about one thing, man.
Sure.
I have a little bit. I worked with those guys almost 3 years, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm curious about a couple of things. So first of all,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, if it's a blue collar thing, if it's a generational thing, and I don't want to put everyone in a box. It's just a pattern I realized, and I saw it also on my dad, right? Which is letting go of a little bit of being resourceful, of doing everything by yourself, I don't want to step out of the field because it's not going to look as good as when I am there. That type of I believe your clients may face that, or you help them transition from stepping out of the field. But at the same time, I understand you're not currently like exactly helping them, at least on the one-on-one. That's more for the group setting, right?
Yeah.
But how do you tackle that mindset? Because like my dad, he was like, he grew up on a farm. He was used to do things on his own, and get to a point that he needs to start delegating, and that's a struggle. And I saw that in the landscapers, for example. But please, I would love to understand your point of view on that, and how to navigate that mentality.
Yeah, the first thing is to realize that we all only have so much capacity to do everything ourselves. And so the first pain point a client's going to feel is that overwhelmed, losing any kind of work-life balance to sacrifice for their business. And some people are okay with that for a while, but eventually you reach a point that you're ready to move beyond that. Some people do, not everybody. How do you convince them to do that? I think the first thing is you got to educate them on, you can't just hire people and let them run wild and expect it to be the same results as you. There's actually a system to getting people to operate to your standards. And the first thing is that I believe every business should have a good set of core values that you live by and your team lives by. Mm-hmm. So you want to be hiring people that resonate with your core values. Integrity is a big one. Quality is a big one. But second, everybody needs training. Everybody needs maintenance. Everybody needs accountability when it comes to operating a business. So just because you hired somebody like you, similar to your core values, and you put them out in the field, if you just turn a blind eye to that, you can't expect that they're always going to be working to your standards. There needs to be a trust and verify to that. And, so that's kind of how we get people to move forward. If people still don't move forward, the biggest motivator is pain. Because what a lot of business owners don't realize is that it's all good until you can't do it anymore. So in the trades, it's usually hurting your back, hurting your knee, doing something like that to where you actually can't produce revenue for your business. What is your life going to look like when that happens? And so the pain is always a good motivator for people when you realize that. And that's even the same in the coaching space. If I stay a solopreneur coach, I'm only as good as my ability to serve my clients. So same thing with Built for the Trades, just gradually growing it and delegating responsibilities and getting it dependent on other people, not being me, is the trick.
Oh, I'm jumping on that boat. Okay.
Okay.
Here comes the first curveball, and I am a coach too. Okay, I'm a coach too. So yeah, there is that, and I see a lot of that happen in the space. And I'll throw it out there like this: a lot of coaches out there are advocating against burnout, are talking about capacity, but sometimes, and I'm saying it's your case, that's why I'm going to ask, they are burning themselves out because they're wearing all the hats, right? They're the marketer, the sales guy, the delivery, the coaching itself, right? Mm-hmm. And the business in a way it does rely on them. And honestly, coaching calls can really suck your energy dry, right? So how do you think about capacity so you don't stretch yourself too thin,
Yeah. Wow, that's a big question.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, no.
I want the answer because I here's the kicker, and I'm gonna add a note there. Okay. I worked in corporate, right? And whenever I hit the clock there, I was like, sayonara to everyone. It's just like, I'm an employee, bye-bye. And then I became a business owner. And then I'm like, dude, sometimes this doesn't even feel like work because there is the outtake of energy, right? But I'm having fun at the same time. I like what I do, even the podcast too. And my wife sometimes is listening to me outside and she's like, is that even work? You're laughing so hard, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I need to create some boundaries, right? For me, or I'll burn myself out either way, whether I'm having fun or not. So I would love to hear your approach on it.
Yeah. So just from the very beginning, like going into business for myself, great advice was given to me that, you need to have a great routine and treat it like it's like a normal job. So I never stopped waking up early. I've never stopped my routine, never stopped showing up to work every day. because it is a slippery slope when you're not reporting to anybody else, taking off Fridays, taking off Mondays. Next thing you know, you're not working a whole lot. And then I just worked out my week. I said Mondays is my admin days, Fridays is my production days and sales days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to cram in as much coaching as possible. That's worked for me since day one, because I don't work the weekends, and I've always carved that out as family time. That's just who I am and the way I've always operated. But yeah, for me, so if I'm doing admin on Mondays, I may be taking some one-to-one referral partner calls in the afternoon on Mondays. Friday mornings, the first half of the day, I'm doing podcasting, I'm shooting reels, I'm batching stuff for the week. And then the second half of the day, I'm doing sales calls, and I may cut out earlier once in a while. That worked for me to start, and it still works for me today. As I've grown the business, hiring VAs are great. I have 2 great VAs in my business. The first one I hired was like my social media guy, my admin guy, and my executive assistant. So he was all in one. He's all I could afford. And we just let it grow from there. And what I started doing was just slowly getting things off my plate that wasn't networking, sales, or coaching. And that worked over time until eventually I hired a full-time admin person as well. So I have one that focuses on the marketing piece, the other one that focuses on administrative work. And then as I've grown the community, finding other coaches is really tricky. I'm a little unique being built for the trades and being in the trades. My vision all along has been to coach people up to sell their business. Once they sell their business and they want to coach again, they can come back and coach with Built for the Trades. If they love the community, they're a good person. And luckily that's worked out for me. So my first coach is one of my first clients. He's out of Colorado, built and sold a big plumbing, HVAC, electrical business. Him and I worked together for a lot of years. He's retired, but he works part-time coaching with me. So that helped me kind of delegate some of the coaching responsibilities. And then now I have another full-time coach that started as part-time for me. And it's still kind of tricky being in that phase where you have 2 other coaches in your business, because people still look to you as like the expert for Built for the Trades, especially if that's the way you market your business. But I have found that, through different avenues beyond one-to-one coaching, like group coaching or masterminds or the school community, if those coaches are there and they're sharing their knowledge, people are starting to connect with other people besides Dan. And it's really opened up some good opportunities to grow the business and kind of expand my capacity in what I'm doing.
Interesting. Okay, I love the answer, actually. Now, let me ask you about another thing you brought up. You mentioned that at the start you were giving some free advice, right? Business advice for certain people.
Yeah.
And the same guy I work with, right, my client in the landscape industry, I was talking with him about that. And I see that happen in the coach industry itself, right? A lot of people doing pro bono work or offering services for free, and people are no-showing. People are not committed. They have no skin in the game. Sometimes they perceive something that is free as worthless in a way. Okay. So I'm not sure if you still do that or did that, or what's your take on it, right? Because for me, I'll give you a side note here, is like, it's almost like I'm thinking about my college days, right? We're playing Texas Hold'em with the buddies at no stakes, and everyone is so courageous, right? All ins here and there, and then you put $1 in the pot, and the game changes, right? Yeah. So for you, man, like your opinion on free coaching and all that, how does that look like for you? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, first, I think that anything free is typically not appreciated. And so you got to definitely charge for your services. But as far as just building relationships with people, I've always been a man of just giving. And that's how I built a lot of relationships. So if anybody called me up and said, "Hey, Dan, do you have a process for this? Or do you have advice on this?" I would say, "Sure, let me just give it to you." So I'm a big fan of that. But when it comes to being in coaching and needing to make a living, people typically move when it's painful. And so I believe that people should be paying. And depending on how
Mm-hmm.
their willingness to move or not, sometimes I believe they should be paying more, and to get them to truly move. But that's my opinion. Is I think anything free is not appreciated typically.
Dan, I'd love for us to shift gears for a second. Okay. Talk about future a little bit, built for the trades. I'm curious about where you're taking all this. Looking ahead, where do you see the business going? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring, or is there a next step you're excited about?
There's a lot of next steps I'm excited about. That's part of my problem, Pedro, is I always living in the future and expecting my team to execute, and they think I'm crazy sometimes. So near future, actually today, we just launched social media services as a part of our offering because, with the trades clients that we serve, one of the biggest reasons why we lose a client a lot of times is because of revenue issues. And there's not a whole lot of trades companies that really enjoy the social media aspect of it. I have a great team that does it well. And so we've launched that service. We're also going to get into networking and building some networking groups. Built for the Trades is a great name to have a networking group. So we're going to launch into that as another avenue to grow our business. And then, in the future, like overall vision for Built for the Trades is that, Built for the Trades is a marketing umbrella for different professionals that offer different types of services that serve the trades clientele to come in and operate under this name, which is, and be able to serve our audience. But when I think out long term, there's a big issue with just getting the next generation into the trades. And it's kind of twofold. What I want to do is make the trades accessible for everybody through an online app to be able to get all the soft training skills to be able to be a good person to step into the trades within a community that's pretty cool and well branded, and you can wear the swag and all the different things and be proud of the trades. But on the other side of it is we want to coach enough companies within the United States that that person that takes all the courses and takes their assessments and says, hey, I want to go to California and I want to work in marketing in a plumbing business, there's going to be a Built for the Trades company over there that they can plug into. And what they'll know that company has good values, they have a great vision, and they have leaders that actually want to help their people grow. And to wrap all that up, like we want to make it cool to be in the trades again. We want to make it accessible, and we want to build a community of like-minded people in the trades.
Watch out there, getting me excited. That's awesome, man. I'm imagining someone applying for a job, and it's almost like validating that company has values, it follows certain aspects of how we want to do things. And I think you mentioned something very interesting, because a lot of people out there right now want to work behind a computer. I'm one to blame, right? But it's cool to be on the trades. If you're there are different people all over, right? It's not just about a computer. I mean, the outdoors are cool too, depending on what you do. If you have like a very solidified business that can give you a path to grow and not just doing that on repeat. So I think it's almost about also selling a vision to your employees and make it cool, right? Not just put it on the generational thing, but trying to make it cool like you did, like you just said. That's one of your goals. Now, I'm curious about one thing, because whenever we're aiming towards the next chapter, right? Something new, always something we're refining in the present. So what are you currently trying to improve or tighten up in your business right now?
What am I not trying to improve and tighten up my business? I think the biggest thing that we're working to improve and tighten up is really just the onboarding process of our clients, the offboarding process of our clients, and then giving our coaches a good support system, administrative wise, to be able to let them focus on networking, selling, and coaching. We have been refining that lately, Pedro, and what I've seen is we've made a lot of mistakes in the process. It could be all kinds of different mistakes, but what I keep encouraging my team is that this is just part of growth. As long as we're not repeating these mistakes, we're just fine. It's just part of the growing pains of growing a business. And if you're a coach and you want to come to work with Built for the Trades, you want to be a part of this community, I want Built for the Trades to take a lot off your plate to where you can just focus on what you really enjoy doing. That's a big benefit to being a part of the community. And so I'm building a back end support team to be able to do that for our coaches.
Interesting. Yeah, I was talking with my brother today, actually. He owns an AI company here in Brazil, right? And we were talking about systems and all that. And he was like, yeah, dude, sometimes I go to businesses that are like revenue 10 to 20 million, and they have like 5 types of systems, AI wise, right? And then sometimes I go to smaller companies, they have plenty of stuff, like more than 5, like 10, 20. And it's just overkilling it, right? It's not about having a lot of stuff. It's about having the right levers to pull, like the right systems to apply to X, Y, and Z. And like, oh, it happened, this problem happened, now we need to create this entire huge thing. Not necessarily, right? You grow and you create slowly, but don't repeat the same mistakes, as it sounds like. So I'm right there with you. Now,
we're definitely in a world where AI and automations and all these things are convenient. But I think people are becoming a lot, numb to that, especially if that's a big part of our sales process and stuff like that. But it is very convenient, and the AI is still only getting started. I mean, I can't believe the last 2 years how much it's progressed since, But I know it's been around a lot longer than that. But it's been in my world for the last 2 years, and it's just crazy how much it has helped simplify a lot of things.
Okay, I mean, since we're talking about future, I want to talk a little bit right now. Dive into a certain type of sci-fi territory. Okay, let's pretend we have a time machine in front of us. Right. You can go back in time. We're gonna have 2 stops. First one, go back in time your first day you opened shop for your coaching business. Okay, and you can give yourself one piece of business advice you wish you knew back then. Like, what would that be?
One piece of advice I wish I would have known, man. When I started my business, it was funny. A lot of fun, lot of crazy conversations with people. But anyways, one piece of advice is that I wish I could have gave. I think, I think a really good piece of advice that I've gotten along the way is the importance of owning your audience and talking to the audience that you own, and not being fully dependent on social platforms and stuff like that to influence your people. I started that about a year and a half, 2 years in the business finally it's like, okay, I got to build an email list. Started with like 5 emails, and now that email list is about 3,600, 3,700 strong. But we talk to them every week. We add a lot of value. It's a great selling tool, great nurturing tool for our audience. And so I would have started that from day one.
Okay. Interesting. You got me curious about the fun conversations.
When I started, so when I sold my plumbing business, we sold everything we owned. We moved into a camper for 6 months. It was only supposed to be a few weeks because we were building a smaller house and just had our 4th kid. It was pretty stressful times. And I just remember leaving that camper and going to like the nearest coffee shop or going to the library and using their internet and just making sales calls. And I just remember the other people on the other end of the line, they're like, what are you doing with your life? Like I can't believe you're coaching. Like, what is even coaching? I remember just reflecting on that, thinking like, wow, I may have made the wrong decision. But that's got to be relatable to a lot of people listening. Coaching is such a great career. It's such a fulfilling career. Like, one of the things that fulfills me the most, Pedro, is when people reach their potential, like whatever that is. Like, they start to reach the next level. They start to accomplish the goals. They start to build the business or have the life that they want. I love that about life. That just really excites me. And so being a support system to that is really cool.
Dude, do you have a time machine about my time machine? That's like almost like my follow-up question. That's our second stop, okay? Which is basically pick up a moment in time in those 6 years that you felt the most fulfilled, right? That made you realize, okay, this is why I'm doing this, you know? You have one of those? I mean, there are
Yeah.
plenty, I imagine, but if you have one that is like the best, love to hear it.
Yeah, the best, the most fulfilled. I have a lot of mistakes I've made along the way, but no, most fulfilled in my coaching journey. Um, I would say, the first most fulfilled feeling I had was when the third client I ever picked up, after 2 years of coaching, was able to get his business to a point where he could sell it and retire. Because he was a granddad, he wanted to get it to a point where it was profitable enough to where he could live the rest of his life comfortably.
Mm,
He was also one of my biggest clients at the time. That's another piece of advice: is don't put all your eggs in one basket.
mm,
I was at that point. He was probably 50 to 60% of my income. We built it and helped him sell it. And when I lost that client, it was like, okay, I need to make sure I have a lot more diversity now. I can't put all my eggs in one basket. But that was a very fulfilling feeling. And he works with me, and we're great friends, and we do things outside of work, even though we're not in the same state. And I would say to this day, that's been pretty fulfilling.
I love that. Okay. Now, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, Dan, and by the way, we're going to have all the links in the description, right?
Okay.
But what's the best way for people to find you and connect with you?
Yeah, builtforthetrades.com is our website. Or just type in Built for the Trades on any social media platform. That's a great way to connect with us. Yeah, either one of those two avenues is a great way to connect. And we just say, if you're just curious, whether you're a coach out there and you're wanting to grow your coaching practice, and I mean, I'm always open to sharing what I've learned, just like I've been on this podcast, or I'd love to hear from you as well. But just becoming a part of our audience and being able to, be in the Built for the Trades community is huge. And that's one thing that, like, when I think about my journey and separating myself from my competitors, one thing I was told along the way too was just like, know who you are and own that. Like, either people are going to love you or they're going to hate you, but don't try to please everybody. And ever since that day when I decided, you know what, I'm going to bring in my values, my faith, my family focus, my fitness focus, like being a good person, like that doesn't resonate with everybody. Some people are just like, you know what, that's cool, but I don't really care about that. I just want growth and profit. There's
Mm-hmm.
people for that too, but own who you are, be genuine, and you'll start growing your business.
Okay. There were a few moments that from this conversation I would love to highlight. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's start from the origin story when you were at your, your business, your own family business, and you were like, yeah, there has to be a better way, because the owners were doing everything.
Yeah.
So you do have skin in the game to do what you do today, right? You've been there and done that, and that always reminds me of this book, right? The E-Myth book.
Yeah.
Especially for the trades, I think that's one of that really pops up to people that we're always talking about. That's a very important reminder. Okay. Then moving forward, I would say the assessment. I like that it's not a one call close. I think, especially in the trades, and that I had like the way I felt when I was doing that sales, for example, they need an extra layer of trust. It sounds like they have a way of doing things that it's like different. It's not as fast. They need to know you a little bit more. I might be off here and you can judge me on that, but I like the
No,
assessment you created for the
you're right.
second call. Okay, what do you want to do about this? It's just like you can either go the way you're doing things and try to get divorced in next year. Okay, I want to be so hard with them. But
No,
or you can
absolutely.
try something different, right? Something new, a proven method, or whatever that looks like. Or we can plug in and just help you achieve whatever you want to achieve, fill out the gaps. Now there's that. Last but not least, right? Whenever we were talking about the free stuff, that really caught my attention. You mentioned that you want to be of service. You love giving away value, helping people. That's
Mhm.
mainly who you are, right? So, and that's aligned with what you told me earlier too, that you want to care about the underdog, right? So that's the reason why you built the group coaching aspect to it, the structure of to help that small guy that it's overlooked sometimes. I mean, they need help. Oh God, they need. Now, this was just my long-winded way of saying, Dan, I appreciate you being here with me today and sharing so openly. So great having you on.
Thank you, Pedro. It's been a joy, man. Appreciate it.
That's it for this episode. This episode, as well as this podcast, was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help business owners elevate their business to 6, 7, and 8-figure years, all without burning out. If you're looking to grow your business, as well as get the time freedom that you are looking for, visit us at joinpurplecircle.com and see what we can do to help you and your business.